Welcome to the Aligning Science Across Parkinson's CRN 2025 Technical Track Funding Opportunity webinar. In this video, we will provide background information on ASAP initiative before discussing the CRN 2025 funding opportunity. We will also cover how to apply for this funding opportunity, the next steps, and provide an overview of additional information. The Aligning Science Across Parkinson's initiative, also known as ASAP, is a global research initiative managed by the Coalition for Aligning Science and implemented in partnership with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. ASAP is focused on understanding the underlying science of Parkinson's disease with a goal of amplifying and coordinating efforts around the world, both within and outside of the existing Parkinson's disease community. We envision collaborative and transparent research processes and environments that deliver faster and better outcomes for Parkinson's disease. As such, our mission is to accelerate the pace of discovery and inform the path to a cure for Parkinson's disease through collaboration, research-enabling resources, and data sharing. ASAP is driven by four major objectives, which are to change our understanding of Parkinson's disease and funnel new ideas into the R&D pipeline, ensure the work we fund can be leveraged by others, facilitate rapid and free exchange of ideas, and establish a strong, diverse global pipeline of the next generation of Parkinson's disease researchers. The ASAP initiative supports three programs: the Collaborative Research Network, the Global Parkinson's Genetics Program, and the Parkinson Progression Markers Initiative. ASAP is also committed to supporting the generation of tools and resources. All of ASAP programs are built upon strong open science policies. In addition, ASAP is proud to be part of multiple consortia. The current funding opportunity is for the Collaborative Research Network, which we will discuss in more detail over the next few slides. The Collaborative Research Network, which we will refer to as the CRN moving forward, is an international, multidisciplinary, and multi-institutional network of collaborating teams working to address high-priority research questions. The idea behind the CRN is to reinvigorate the research pipeline to accelerate discoveries and push the field forward to meet our ultimate goal of identifying new targets and mechanisms that can be used for translational studies and commercialization. The approach by which we move from idea to result is through supporting ambitious, high-risk projects, encouraging diverse perspectives, embracing openness and transparency, and ultimately changing the way that science is done. Currently, CRN teams are funded to study three major themes related to Parkinson's disease: PD functional genomics, which focuses on unraveling the functional biology underlying mutations associated with Parkinson's disease; neuroimmune interactions, which focuses on dissecting the impact of the neuroimmune system; and circuitry and brain-body interactions, which focuses on assessing how the brain and areas outside of the brain communicate with each other throughout the course of the disease. Two additional tracks, a scientific and technical track, will join the CRN in 2025. The CRN 2025 funding opportunity, which we will cover over the next few slides, gives members of the scientific community the ability to apply to join the CRN for either of these two tracks. The main objective of the CRN 2025 funding opportunity is to support higher risk, ambitious projects that require additional capital to spur discovery for Parkinson's disease research. As mentioned on the last slide, funding will be split into two tracks: scientific and technical. The scientific track is focused on supporting high research projects to dissect the mechanisms that contribute to Parkinson's disease heterogeneity, while the technical track focuses on the development of novel, sustainable tools that can be used to accelerate validation and therapeutic R&D for emerging targets that have been identified through ASAP discoveries. LOIs for the scientific track opened on January 15, 2025, and will close on March 20, 2025. LOIs for the technical track open on March 5, 2025. Please note that this video will focus on information solely regarding the technical track. Over the next few slides, we will discuss the CRN 2025 funding opportunity, specifically regarding the technical track. The CRN 2025 technical track supports the development of novel tools that can be reliably produced and shared with the research community to accelerate validation and therapeutic R&D for emerging targets pursued or identified through ASAP discoveries. The objective of the technical track is to generate, validate, and distribute preclinical reagents and/or models tailored to support clinical research needs for at least 5 eligible targets that are emerging from ASAP discoveries. The list of eligible targets will be covered on a later slide. This track is focused on supporting tool-specific, not target-specific projects that generate high-quality resources to be distributed across commercial mechanisms. To learn more about what is considered in scope and out of scope for the technical track, please visit our website. A QR code for our website will be available at the end of this webinar. Teams that are funded through the technical track must focus on the generation of a specific tool type. Examples of tools that could be funded include in vivo or in vitro preclinical models, detection reagents such as antibodies or probes, or modulation agents such as viral vectors or ASOs. Please note that hypothesis-driven research is out of scope for this proposal. As mentioned previously, projects within the technical track must generate tools for at least 5 targets from the prioritized targets listed below that were identified through ASAP discoveries. We want to support the development of tools to better study these targets, to make clear go or no-go decisions on the relevance of these targets to Parkinson's disease therapeutics. The list of eligible targets can be found on this slide. Please note that some of these targets might have resources for a specific tool type, such as an animal model or antibody, but not for another tool type. Before applying, please conduct your own due diligence and assess where there may be an unmet need. The technical track will provide funding for up to $2 million per year for a period of 3 years. The LOI application process opens on March 5, 2025 and will close on May 5, 2025. There are a few additional requirements associated with this funding. Teams must generate, validate, and distribute preclinical reagents and/or models tailored to support clinical research needs for at least 5 eligible targets from the ASAP list. Team composition must fall within the team makeup requirements, and successful applicants must agree to follow all of ASAP's open science policies. We will cover each of these components in more detail over the next few slides. Applicants must select at least 5 targets from the eligible targets list showcased in the table here. The total number of targets selected should be based on the timelines and expenses associated with generating and validating the tool type pursued by the team. As you consider which targets to pursue in your application, think about whether the targets selected can fall into a common pathway, as this will likely make a stronger proposal for review. Targets within a common pathway can support synergistic validation workstreams of the targets for efficient workflow and also create a toolkit package to support future programs interrogating this key pathway for Parkinson's. Another key consideration is whether or not a tool for this target already exists. We have shared our own internal landscape assessment that can be accessed through the RFA application as a starting point. However, applicants should also be doing their own independent review when selecting the targets to focus on for their proposal. The CRN is based on collaborative, team-based science. A CRN technical track team must include the following: an appointed lead known as the coordinating lead PI. The coordinating lead PI must have an academic appointment and be in an independent faculty position or serve as a senior staff scientist in the private sector with responsibility for leading collaborative research projects. Teams must have a core or repository co-investigator to distribute the preclinical reagent and/or models being developed. The core or repository co-investigator is an employee of a commercial repository or academic core who is responsible for distributing the preclinical reagents and models generated by the team to the research community at large. In total, the team must have 2 to 5 principal investigators, who all have either a PhD, MD, or equivalent degree. The exception may be the core or repository co-investigator, but they must be authorized to act on behalf of their institution within this program. Teams need to be multidisciplinary with at least 2 different disciplines represented. Teams must be multi-institutional with 2 to 5 participating institutions. There is an exception to this requirement. The 5-institution maximum can be exceeded if, and only if, an ASAP team has a collaborator that is employed at a different institution from the core leadership members. Up to 1 additional sub-awardee institution can be allowed in excess of the 5-institution limit for an absolute maximum of 6 institutions to account for collaborators employed elsewhere. In addition, all core leadership members, except for the core repository co-investigator, are expected to allocate a minimum of 25% time and effort to the research project. The core or repository co-investigator has no FTE requirement. All teams must have a project manager to monitor team milestones, manage data, liaise with other funded teams, and ensure compliance. ASAP is built upon strong open science policies. Awarded team members agreed to follow all of ASAP's open science policies. In general, the policy has 5 key components. 1. Share research outputs. Data, code, and protocols generated as part of an ASAP-funded study must be deposited in a discipline-specific, community-recognized repository by the time of publication, with accompanying information to facilitate reuse of those outputs, and a license that allows for reuse. Key lab materials generated as part of an ASAP-funded study must be registered by the time of publication to facilitate findability and reuse. For the technical track, this means that in addition to ensuring that the tools are shared with the research community through the core repository core investigator, any protocols required for appropriate tool use and data generated from validation studies must also be deposited. 2. Identify research inputs. Data, software, protocols, and key lab materials used in a study, but which were not generated as part of an ASAP-funded study, must be unambiguously identified in the study's publication. 3. Ensure immediate open access. Preprints must be posted no later than the date a manuscript is submitted to a journal for review. Preprints and publications must be immediately publicly available with a CC BY 4.0 or CCO license, and include an availability statement outlining where all research outputs, requirement 1, and research inputs, requirement 2, can be accessed. 4. Acknowledge ASAP. Manuscripts and other research outputs that were partially or fully funded by ASAP must acknowledge ASAP. For those within the Collaborative Research Network, the ASAP CRN affiliation should be included in the author byline for all authors who receive funding from ASAP. Manuscripts must include an ORCID for each author within the ASAP network. 5. Share outputs with the ASAP network. In addition to sharing with the research community at large, all ASAP-funded research outputs, including manuscripts, must be shared on the ASAP grantee virtual platform no later than time of publication. Manuscript drafts must be sent to the ASAP Open Science team no later than the time of preprint. The technical track sharing policy includes a few key considerations, including that PIs and their institutions must sign a letter of acknowledgement. This letter of acknowledgement confirms that they are aware of and agree that while inventions and intellectual property are owned by the research team, the team is required to distribute the resulting tools through the core repository co-investigator. Tools shall be made available to nonprofit and for-profit researchers at an equal price without the requirement for purchasers to obtain a license from the institution for access. Please note that this RFA will not provide funding for the following types of projects. Projects that generate preclinical tools and models for targets outside the list provided by ASAP, or projects that will not be generating preclinical tools or models. Projects performing hypothesis-driven research rather than generating and validating novel preclinical tools and models. and projects generating preclinical reagents or models that cannot or will not be rapidly shared with the research community through commercial mechanisms. How can you apply to CRN 2025 technical track? Applications for funding will occur in 2 stages. In the first stage, interested applicants will submit a letter of intent, or LOI. The LOI document outlines the proposed team, the justification for how the project aligns with ASAP goals, and why the project is important for Parkinson's disease research. LOIs will be reviewed, and projects that are within the scope and of interest to ASAP will be invited to Stage 2. Stage 2 of the application process is submission of a full proposal. The full proposal application will allow teams to provide an in-depth overview of information on the project, including rationale, experimental plans, budget, and the team members involved in the research. A template for the LOI is available on the ASAP website. The template will provide teams with more information on how to provide ASAP with project details, including a description of the project, a summary of the team members, a description of open science practices related to methodology and tool sharing that have been adhered to in the past 5 years, any figures or related data, a letter of commitment, and an institution letter of acknowledgement. The LOI will be submitted through the MJFF Grants Portal. If you have never applied through the MJFF Grants Portal, please click the Register Here button. Find and add your organization and complete all contact information. You will then be prompted to set up your login information. Please log in and complete submission of your LOI. If you have applied through the MJFF Grant Portal in the past, input the email address and password associated with the MJFF portal. If you cannot remember your password, select Forgot Password and look for an email that will ask you to reset your password. Once you have reset your password, please log in. If your email does not work, please register as a new user. If you experience any issues or have any questions, please contact grants@parkinsonsroadmap.org. What happens next? LOI submissions for the CRN 2025 technical track open on March 5th, 2025. LOI submissions are due on May 5th, 2025. In July 2025, projects of interest will receive an invitation to submit a full proposal. Full proposals will be due in September 2025. Teams that are awarded funding will be notified in early 2026. Frequently asked questions. Can a researcher be named as a co-investigator to more than one pre-proposal? Yes. However, be mindful that all core leadership except the core repository co-investigator are required to devote 25% time and effort per project. Are institutions outside of the U.S. able to apply for funding? Yes. International researchers from across organization types, for example, nonprofit, for-profit, private, academic, are eligible to apply. We accept applications from all countries and consider them equally to U.S.-based researchers. Are private biotech or pharmaceutical companies eligible to apply for funding? For-profit entities are eligible and encouraged to apply. Should a budget be included at the letter of intent stage? No, a detailed budget is not required at the LOI stage. Please submit the ASAP CRN pre-proposal template and fill out the online application form to complete your pre-proposal LOI submission. Is the team required to have a project manager? The coordinating lead PI is required to budget for a project manager. This person assists with day-to-day coordination of all team efforts to maintain a high level of functionality and communication. Can a team develop a tool for a target that is not on the list of eligible targets? We acknowledge that this list of eligible targets is not comprehensive and that some important targets that require tools are not included at this round of the technical track. If you are interested in developing reagents or models for targets that are not included in this list, those would fall outside of the current scope of the technical track. We welcome you to submit these out-of-scope ideas to the MJFF Research Tools Program for discussion by emailing tools@michaeljfox.org. Need more information on ASAP? You can learn more about the ASAP initiative by visiting our website or by reading some of our prior publications, including information on our approach to basic research in Parkinson's disease, our blueprint for open science, and how we actually implement our open science policies. Thank you for viewing our video on the CRN 2025 Technical Track Funding Opportunity. For more information, please visit our website or contact grants@parkinsonsroadmap.org.